Doug, a DougDoug story by Douglas Scott Reedon. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Doug is not real. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or locales, is entirely coincidental. Foreword. There are certain individuals that, on reading their story, you will never look at that individual the same way again. Whether it is the wisdom of Helen Keller, the artistic perspectives of Kenneth Branagh, or the heartwarming memories of beloved pets from Kirsty Noam. We read biographies to better understand those we admire, both in history and in our present day. Is it intellectual voyeurism that draws us to reading the intimate details of one's life? Maybe, you perv. But I'm not here to kink shame. I was invited by Doug Reedon to read this biography and offer up a foreword to yet another pretty bright thing that has lost scope, empathy, and insight with anyone who holds a real job in this world. Being one of the elite content creators, this rather ambitious tome, written by someone who's been on this planet a whopping 34 years, would no doubt feature gripping moments of life laden with such turmoils as cafe mocha that tasted too cafe in a moment and needed more mocha, or the trials of finding that his sneaker collection lacked the Louis Vuitton and Nike Air Force One collaboration. Perhaps there would even be the shocking and somewhat heartbreaking tale of Reedon alone in the rain as some kind of David Tennant stand-ins as he watches an Uber he booked half an hour ago only drive by. Completely unaware his perceived social status. Sure, Doug would say, raindrops would mingle within his tears. If I were Markiplier or Kai Cenat, you would have made the fare. Why not me? Yes, I was expecting all of this and more. A broad new definition of vapid, with perhaps a generous offering of hubris, with just a dash of schadenfreude. I was wrong. So, very wrong. What Doug, a DougDoug story, offered within its bindings was so much more than I could have been prepared for. Reading this biography, I found myself possessing the intellect of a newborn babe. My emotional state had been reduced to that of Arkansas. Physically, I was drained, an empty vessel so desperate to be refilled, but asking in the end, what's the point? Which is kind of trippy when you ask, wait, you're an empty water bottle experiencing existential crisis. What the fuck kind of writer are you? I'm an award-winning writer, thank you very much, and I am going deep. So strap in, Sparky, and keep reading. Doug, a DougDoug story is not just a transformative work, it is transcendent work. It is a work of literature that broadens your scope of reality. It is a story that will have you questioning everything you understand about the universe. It's an 8-ball of cocaine, laced with Gamer Sup's Vase bloodlust, chased with the Monster Mango Loco while watching Inception in a loop, as your balls are slapped repeatedly to stimulate testosterone. This is a book that students generations from now will be required to read in school, and because of Doug, a DougDoug story will never pick up another book again. Upon finishing Doug, a DougDoug story, I now find myself asking if there is room for my own writing. Does my own perspective even matter in a world graced with Reedons? I don't know anymore. About my writing, about my gaming, about my content. This is why I will be retiring to a monastery somewhere in Southeast Asia, just after TwitchCon 2025. It is my intent to walk into nothingness, my own personal atomic signature fading into eternity, my name disappearing into the fog of obscurity, my own wife and child looking to one another in their own twilight years and asking each other, remember that guy who hung out with us all the time? He used to mean something before Doug Reedon completely wrecked his self-esteem. Yes, whilst my name and all for which I built surrenders itself to the sweet embrace of insignificance. I thank you, Doug Reedon, for offering me in Doug, a DougDoug story, the epiphany of where my place in society, and yes, in the universe, truly is. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. T. Morris, award-winning author of The Ministry of Peculiar Occurrence series, author of Podcasting for Dummies and Twitch for Dummies.